Meow, meow, chow, chow, said the little doggy and the little kitty. Here we are for what could be the final grind session. The plan is get the last few levels needed, fly over to Bikerland, pick up Snorlax's leveling, park myself in front of the Elite Four, save, end the recording, and then start a new recording. We get it all done today before Pendragon. Pendragon starts in 3 hours and 57 minutes, but I also need to make dinner during that time. And I need to do a whole bunch of Pendragon math, which is to say that I have to do a bunch of dice rolls in order to determine the opponents at the Battle of Baden Hill. So I think it is fair to say that I have 2 or fewer hours. Really, these episodes are kind of like watching me slowly go through sort of existential crisis, perhaps, is what I'd say. Right? I mean, am I going mad? The longer I have to talk to myself, the more philosophical I'll get. Today is July 4th, by the way. I want to tell you a little story. If you're on the Discord, you probably already know that this happened. I think I talked yesterday about the hose. There's a new hose. And then my mom needed the new hose. The hose arrived. I'm going over to put the hose on. She's like, oh, go inside. It's too hot. I'll just water the whatevers. Right? Water the hydrangea bushes. So anyway, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna peace out and I'm gonna just go like make lunch or something. There's a doorbell at my mom's house. Goes off. I'm like, well, my mom's outside, so she would have seen whoever was approaching the door. It's pretty weird that someone would do the doorbell if that's the case. So I went to go answer the door. And it's a guy I've never seen before, and he's like, hey, mom's down. And I'm like, what the hell does that mean? In my head. But he's gesturing, so I just kind of go along with it. By the way, if you want to murder me by, like, getting me to exit my house, this is the perfect plan to do that, by the way. If you say something like, hey, your mom's down, not even like your mom needs help, your mom's down, and then you gesture, I'll just leave the confines of my house and follow you, no questions asked. So I go a little bit around a corner. My mom has, in fact, fallen. So it's like it's the roots of a hydrangea bush that she sawed through. Like, she wasn't going to let that one grow this year. The roots are, like, super, super tough. Like, enough to have cut her tough. So anyway, she was walking on the unsteady ground from all the new mulch that had gone down, right? And it was all wet because she's spraying water everywhere, and I guess she slipped and fell. And so she hits this, like, 50-pronged bush. She has 14 cuts on her legs. She pulled herself off of that. And like any good nurse or doctor who requires medical care, she immediately begins ignoring all good advice from anyone nearby who has medical training. This guy's like, we're gonna help get you up. And I'm like, yes, exactly. And she's like, no, I can get up myself when I feel like it. And he's like, we simply must get you up. And I was like, he's right. We simply must get you up so that we can get these wounds cleaned. So anyway, he's like grabbing her arm, and she doesn't want him to grab her arm, and there's literally nothing he can do about that. But I'm grabbing her other arm, and I'm her son, and she's not as inclined to force me away as she is him. So anyway, eventually I convince her, and we both get her to like hold onto us as we both pull her backwards from our position, which is getting her to stand up on her feet. Then finally she gets her feet under her. The guy offers to like turn off the water for the hose. My mom is like, no, there's still water coming out. And the guys, I'm dragging her inside to get wound care for these dirty, mulch-filled, bloody wounds. And she wants to argue that she needs to stay outside and deal with this thing. And this guy's just like, I'm telling you, miss, it's turned off. The water that's in the hose is just coming out. And I'm like, come on, Mom, come on. You know, the picture of the young woman leading the grandmother on the walker meme, that's me. I'm like, come on, we gotta get you inside. Anyway, so we get her inside. She refuses to let me do any first aid at all, even though there's a first aid kit underneath the sink, the guest sink, and then I know she's got a first aid kit in her room, and I also know that there's a first aid kit underneath the kitchen sink. But she refuses all that, and she goes and cleans her legs off in the bath, and I assume she does a good job of that, and then I double check afterwards, despite her strenuous objections, to just make sure everything's cleaned up and like wiped off. And I tell her that she should get bandages or whatever, and she's like, no, no, no. And then I'm like, I bought this expensive Apple iWatch for you, and it should have a fall detection sensor that asks you to call 911, and why didn't that happen? And, well, I may have also talked about this here, is that she just got the new Apple iWatch that just like whatever the newest version is. She traded up one from the old one because the original one I bought her finally was like on the verge of breaking down and dying. Like the battery was completely shot because it was about as old as you're gonna get on a device like that. So she has the new one. She doesn't know how to get the fall sensor to work. Why didn't she call 911 for help when she fell and there was nobody around and I wasn't outside? So now I'm not gonna let her go outside anymore. You know what I mean? Is this how people with kids feel? Where you're like, oh, you've done something incredibly dumb, now I can never let you do that anymore. Right? Like you're not responsible for taking care of yourself. Because she'll refuse help from a random good Samaritan who literally goes out of his way to get me involved as well. I'm glad this guy came and got me. If he was a murderer, by the way, he could have got me. He absolutely could have shanked me from behind and murdered me. I'd be gone, brother. I'm glad he wasn't a murderer. 100%. Sometimes you watch these serial killer shows and they're like, I need a complex 14-part plan in order to isolate the victim and lure them into a situation. I'm like, not me, man. You get me in 5 seconds, I'd be gone. I'd be toast. I didn't want to talk any more about it on Discord because I feel like it's weird that it keeps coming up that people are shoulder checking me and then I absolutely obliterate them just based on my own personal weight and stance. I don't want people to think that like I enjoy pushing people around or like beating them up. I enjoy when someone tries to do that to me and I'm easily victorious over them. But I don't like go out of my way to put myself in that situation. Apparently this is just an alpha thing that's going around that incels do. I guess it started, I saw a thing on Reddit about like a Japanese guy who does it to women. He just shoulder checks women, and then I just kept following this rabbit hole that like there's incels in Japan that intentionally target foreign women to like feel them up with the shoulder check, and people that they think are inferior or weak men just to prove how alpha they are. They don't say to prove how alpha they are, but you know, I'm kind of editorializing a bit. I'm sure you're not shocked to hear that I'm editorializing. I kept going down the rabbit hole. This is the thing spreading all across inceldom. Just this weird shoulder check thing. They gotta get over it, because if you keep shoulder checking me, brother, you're gonna get hurt. I'm telling you. I don't know why people think I'm an easy mark all the time for like scamming or like physical combat. It's wild. What is it? It must be something on my face. My face must just look dopey, or maybe I just look like I'm easy to defeat. Don't. Just don't. Don't do it to me, but also don't do it to anybody in general. That's all I'm saying. I'm always shocked at the number of times. Like, do I receive an unusual number of weird personal attacks? Or is this the number of personal attacks other people receive? Because I often feel like I'm being unusually targeted. But, you know, as a YouTube streamer, sometimes you have people that are like, oh, I know where your mom lives and I'm gonna kill her. And I'm like, great. So now I'm deleting all my resumes and all my personal data off the internet. And then people will continue to still be like super weird. And they'll accuse you of things that you've not only never done, but would never even consider doing. And people will automatically believe those people with zero evidence, even though it's completely contrary to your character. And I'm like, it's so weird that this attack is effective against me. Like, what have I done that people will automatically assume that known liars and like known bullies have more credibility than someone who isn't even given an opportunity to defend themselves? Just wild. Because I'm no saint and I'm no angel, just to repeat the typical words. But like the number of people who come at me for what I think of as there are legitimate reasons to dislike me. Let me be so clear about that. I would never deny that. But like, sometimes the weirdest stuff happens to me. And I'm like, is it just me? I never hear about these kinds of things happening to other people. Is it just me? Or do other people simply not talk about it? Because that's certainly possible. It's possible. There's this huge bridge in social media presentation right now where, you know, you're supposed to, as a YouTuber, and like, I guess on Instagram as well, you're just supposed to show people only your good and your best side and never to show any weakness or doubt or mistakes ever, right? And if you ever do anything, it's got to be laced up in hustle culture, or it's got to be a comedic bit. Now, I certainly get turning huge portions of what you do into comedic bit. I mean, that's literally my entire brand. But yeah, like, I don't know. Have people tried being real? Not even AP Gaming real, just like be normal, dude. I don't know. Here's the philosophy you've been waiting for this episode. I think there is some part of me that in the place where other people feel a need to fit in, maybe it's not saying it's a need, because when I say it that way, it feels like I'm framing it as a negative. I don't feel the same drive for like a wider social circle with people. And I don't know, I feel like I've turned that to some extent into a strength by no, wait, let me phrase it. Hustle cultures. Yeah, man, I managed to turn my weaknesses into a strength. But, you know, just like not going along with the vibe of stuff. Or I'm pretty sure I've talked earlier on this specific series about, like, you know, what if I just want to watch something and I don't want to be like, hey, I gotta wait for my wife or my girlfriend or my kids or my whole family or my friends to like watch this series. Like, I am fairly independent in that way. I just don't feel the need to accommodate. Every time I say this, it feels like I'm framing it very negatively, and I don't want to give that impression. But I don't have the language to frame being involved with others as a positive. Maybe this is telling me more about how I view this than I've previously analyzed. But I don't know. I just don't like feel that drive fit in, which is so strange. Especially when it's weighed against, like, for a long time, I wanted to be good at streaming, and that required, or I believed it required me to fit in. and it required me to chase after trends and stuff like that. And the longer I've streamed, the less and less I feel the need to do that. And I don't think I was very good at any of those things to begin with. I'm not good at chasing the trends, and I was probably about to talk about this subject anyway, but look, I don't know why dungeon masters as streamers, actual play dungeon master streamers, somehow seem to have ended up in this area where they're all expected to be mental health advocates. Pretty much any of the big game masters you've heard of also tacitly are like mental health advocates. Maybe Chris Perkins, I don't know that he's like it outright, but I remember when I started streaming, there's this guy named Softbang who really he was like a mental guidance counselor or something like that, and he wanted me to kind of make that part of my brand as well. And you know, Matt Mercer opening up about body dysmorphia, talking about positivity, Brennan Lee Mulligan, and a half dozen topics. Sherlock Holmes, Mark Sherlock Holmes. I don't really watch him as much, but I know that he's like a positivity guy or whatever, you know, like why is this, what intersection has caused these two topics to entwine? I don't get it. I've tried to be a positivity streamer several times. I tried to force my way through the intro hour doing it. It's not for me, man. I can't make it happen. I'm sorry. I'm like basically negative. Surprising no one, I think. I feel like I see the negative side of life fairly easy. Maybe that's what made me sort of mediocre, less than average engineer. One of the things you learn in engineering that maybe you've heard about in life several times and you might not understand it, but it is much, much easier to destroy things and to look at something and be like, this is how I would destroy it, rather than create something. It's so easy to be negative. I recall probably Big Spoon is going to be the only person watching this that knows what I'm talking about, because I know that not a lot of my audience overlaps with the Worlds Beyond Number audience. Now don't get it confused. I'm saying Worlds Beyond Number, not Worlds Without Number. So I have a number of Without Number streams from Cardinal Jimenez, aka Kevin Crawford's Without Number series. Worlds Beyond Number is an audio dramatic podcast with Brennan Lee Mulligan, Lou Wilson, Abria Iyengar, and why can't I remember her name? Because she's literally the person this whole conversation is, but Erika Ishii. So Erika is playing a character who's like a happy witch. She's like a Kiki's Delivery Service style witch, but if you wrong her, they've written D&D mechanics that are like reprisal based. That like, if you wrong any witch, and witch is a separate class from warlock, just to be clear as well. If you wrong them, you open yourself up to their curse, which is like being hexed by a warlock. But the curse is much more brutal and long last. Like, it's like permanent. It's a lifetime if you get cursed by a witch. And like one of the curses that she uses primarily, I don't think she uses that many. I think it only happens like twice. And there's opportunities where like someone wronged her and she's aware that she could perform a reprisal on them at any moment. But she simply chooses not to take that opportunity. But one of the curses she had was like, anytime this guy harms an innocent creature, he also takes a d6 of damage, which is real rough for that guy because he's literally a professional torturer. So like he could just kill himself doing his job. You know what I mean? So that's a really brutal curse to use on him. But what I find most fascinating about her character, and this is going to be telling on myself, I suppose, but he has an arc where we go back in time and we see her when she's younger, like very young, like a little girl. And she's not nice or happy. She's angry, and she's questioning to the world why it's so hard to be a good person. And I'm like, wow, I went through a phase like that as well. That's rough, buddy. And I've never seen anybody in fiction or reality talk about that. That, like, it's some people, it just feels like they automatically know how to be a good person, and they don't need, like, rules or ethics or morals or guidelines to, like, help hem in sort of bad choices. I don't know. There's so much to say about needing rules as well. Like, it's so complicated because there are plenty of studies that show that for the vast majority of people, a super majority of people, they say that they have like morals and ethics and such, but really they just justify in their mind their action. And if it falls into their local moral, ethical code, then that makes them feel better. And if not, they need to paint a sort of differing moral code to justify their actions to themselves as sort of outsiders. That sounded to me kind of like flat earther talk, where like there's groups of people that deny reality. This is supposed to be a game for kids, right? I'm so far off the beaten path. Kids, if you don't know what I'm talking, you know what? Let's just say stuff like bird, use wing attack. Why not that? Why not that? I'm having to confront mortality today with this thing with my mom, and it's made me very negative, extremely negative. You want real truth? Here it goes. You'll never find someone who's more of a pain in the butt in the medical profession than having to take care of a doctor or a nurse. Especially the longer they've been a doctor or a nurse and the more higher rank they are. They're gonna be like when cats get sick and then they pretend they're not sick, but they go hide in a corner and then they don't, like they don't talk to you and they don't go get food or whatever. They just hide in a corner and pretend that they're not sick. That's how doctors and nurses are. Except they're also like really mean about it as well. 100%. Somewhere out there, there's a mean girl to nurse pipeline. Joke, forming, but I don't know, man. I just want to say, by the way, almost every nurse I've encountered has been an extremely normal person. I really appreciate when they tell me that I'm 4x alert and aware. It's nice getting 4 stars as a rating. 4 out of 4, really. They say men don't receive enough compliments, but, the compliment I've gotten most from a woman is that I'm 4 times alert and aware. What a nice thing to say. Oof. That was a brutal joke. Apologies to anyone that hasn't been professionally observed by a healthcare professional, by the way. You may not be getting this joke. It's cringe, just to be so clear. It's not a funny joke. It's cringe. It's cringer than most of my jokes, to be brutally honest. Bum, 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 ba-dum, bum, 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 ba-dum, bum. Wah, 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 wah. Wow. Yeah, apparently people were commenting on one of my previous videos saying not choosing Dragon Dance, a bold move. Well, this is what I've got, brother. No Dragon Dance. I mean, it's a strong move to be sure, but I don't think it's going to find it's not in this gen and not on this team. I think there's definitely a place for Dragon Dance Gyarados, especially Lake of Rage Dragon Dance Shiny Gyarados. If Pondo does sign a blood contract with me to absolutely do a Nuzlocke, Hardcore, Soul Link, Heart Gold, Soul Silver, which I'm totally down for. He needs me to prove he doesn't need me to prove myself, but I did say I would like to finish this one first, and he said that he would do it with me. But someone saying they'll do something with you, and then being a dad with multiple time commitments like Pondo, like just saying he wants to do it with me is not the same thing as actually being able to do it. I don't even know what night we'd be able to team up on. It would have to be Wednesday for me. That's the only night I have left free. Either that or it'd have to be on the weekend during the middle of the day, and that's prime playing with kids time period, right? Like, it's been a while since I've been a kid, but I'm pretty sure hanging out with your family in the middle of the day and the weekend is like prime material. I don't know. How am I still so tired? It's because it's so hot. Alright, I'm gonna drink some water and hope I can get my water refilled. It's been a stressful day as well. There we go. Well, today, so far, we've had hummus sandwiches, turkey and mozzarella sandwiches, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I'm saying sandwiches, I should just say sandwich. One of the leftover sausages from my big sausage bake. Nice. I would like a brace of 4 hash brown patties. I'm really liking these Lidl hash brown patties. These are solid picks, man. They might have been from Aldi, now that I think about it. Doesn't really matter since the two companies are as closely aligned as two companies can be without actually being the same company. I found out that the YouTube channel closest to my YouTube channel in terms of viewership of the same category, which is to say actual play YouTube tabletop RPG channel, is like a set of voice acting and voice acting hopefuls, voice acting teachers, who also do like 3 to 5 tabletop RPGs in a week together. And I'm like, are we really in the same category? These guys have like 5 times as much viewership as me. But because I've been doing it for so long and am so much older of a channel, it means that my oldest videos rate well against their current videos. So, I don't know. It's a weird comparison from stuff like Social Blade. Guess that's what they call ego surfing. I don't do the social medias anymore, so... I also Googled my full legal name on Google, obviously. And the only entry in the first 30 options was like my father's name, because I'm a third. and he's not a third. I mean, I feel like that should be pretty obvious. I don't show up at all. And to be clear, that's intentional. I have gone out of my way to erase my real-life persona from the internet after several convincing and maybe less convincing threats to my person. Some of them hurt more than others. Losing Facebook was a bit of a pain. Losing LinkedIn was a bit of a joy. I lost because I'm pooped from all the running I did. Just check on bird. I think 57 might be alright. Just a little bit more, and then we'll go level that Snorlax. Bird is really kind of a backup for if Articuno kind of runs out of moves, sort of deal. Just a high base stat amount as well. So probably after this version of Earthseeker, we're headed to Biker Town. Can we push Gyarados to 59? Is that in the cards? How close is Gyarados to leveling? Only like 3/4 of the way there. I don't think it's really worth it. They'll get some levels during the gauntlet of the Elite Four, and then we'll just stuff rare candies in their mouth during the post Elite Four Lance to rival Gary pipeline. Oh, critical hit! Love that. We took them out in one move. We are gonna fight this one guy over here real quick. This one guy, we're gonna fight him. Bum ba da dum bum ba da 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 dum bum. I am thinking that I might go pick up Eevee right now, actually, and so here's my plan. I'm gonna drop off Voltorb, I'm gonna pick up Eevee, and I'm gonna haul an unevolved Eevee through the Elite Four. Now you might be like, why would you hold one hand behind your back? Why aren't you using that 6th slot? Well, let me tell you something, that Eevee is there for moral support. We've talked a lot of the reasons why Eevee is the superior mutagenic evolutionary Pokemon. But what we haven't discussed about is how Eevee fits on your shoulder, but you can pick them up and throw them. First off, comfortably fits on your shoulder, and is a cool fox cat dog sort of thing, right? But then you can throw them at people and they'll scratch them on landing and absolutely destroy them for being nerds. That's a solid Pokemon pick right there. All right. All right. We're depositing Voltorb. Store, box 1. Then we're gonna move items from Venusaur to my inventory. Take. Yeah, there we go. Now, we're giving that on Lapras. Bum, bum, bum. Bum, 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 bum. Watch me have to cower it out during the Elite Four and use some full restore, full heal, hyper potions at the last minute. Nope, nope. I need you to take me to Vermilion City. I pressed the wrong button. Oh, this is Vermilion City. Never mind. Yes, yes, yes. It's up here. Banana. Oh, actually, hold on. We'll pick up that Eevee. Well, the longer we leave the Eevee in there, the higher level it will be. So actually, we just leave it in there. And we just don't forget about forgetting it. Watch that Eevee be the one to land the last hit on Charizard after the whole rest of the team is dead. Clicky clicky. Washy washy. Happy happy. So, the cruise industry, specifically Norwegian Cruise Line, but I think all the cruise lines have adapted it. It's called the Washy Washy song, where they want you to wash your hands before you eat in the buffet area. You may recall we briefly spoke upon the nature of cruise ships not actually being as disease-ridden as just like literally any large social area. Of course, the cruise industry is trying to keep the number of outbreaks low as possible while not inconveniencing guests. And so the Washy Washy song is the midway. It's the compromise candidate, where you have good behavior, I guess, and they don't force you to use extremer measures unless the ship catches an outbreak, in which case Washy Washy song is over and you're not allowed to get your own food anymore. A crewmate will provide your food for you. And there's a whole longer discussion about certain cultures around the world that are less individualistic than Americans, who eat food collectively, and so they send one person, typically the oldest male of the social group, to gather up food for everybody and bring back several plates. And then you enter into a situation where like people don't want to eat that thing on the plate, and so they're wasting huge amounts of food. Like imagine bringing back an entire plate of broccoli just so everyone had some green vegetables, but then no one at the table wants to eat the green broccoli. So you eat all the other food and you leave the green broccoli, and now someone comes over to clean up your stuff and it's just a full plate of broccoli. Delicious broccoli, cooked correctly, right? This is an issue for the cruise industry because it's really bad for them to be wasting food like that. They're already losing mega bucks on the amount of bacon people eat. And they usually run out of whiskey as well. Like they literally just can't stock enough whiskey for a cruise ship consistently. But yeah, I mean, the longer the ship is away from port, the more likely you are to have run out of bacon pretty handily. But that's far and away from the Washy Washy song. The Washy Washy song is a thing of beauty. It's there. So when you look at reviews for cruise ships, only the most dedicated, I mean, it's like reviews for anything, right? Where most people don't leave a positive review. You know what I mean? Like the majority of people who are enticed to leave a review are having a negative time, or the lesser evil there is someone who's being recompensed to leave a positive review. You know what I mean? To get a true positive review is quite rare nowadays. So a lot of the cruise ship reviews tend to be kind of less realistic about the situation and more negative, and you can usually pick out when a person is an absolute psychopath who wasn't following the rules, and is leaving the review because they think it's a real slam and they have no idea what's going on actually. And one of my Pokemon just turned into a Magneton for no reason, I guess. That was strange. Where was I? If someone complains in the review about the Washi Washi song, it's like someone who complains about owning a dog, right? When I see someone who's like, you know what I hate? Animals. Not that there are any famous politicians who've openly said that they hate animals, specifically dogs. And speak about it, frankly, in a shocking manner, right? But when someone says they hate the Washi Washi song, it's usually a really good indication that they don't like following incredibly basic sanitary hygiene rules, and you can pretty much discard anything else they have to say. The rest of their complaints are gonna come from an area of extreme narcissism or privilege or absence of public health understanding, basic regard for the public and other people. The Washi Washi song, man. Miraculous. A flexible tool that can do two things. It can get you to wash your hands, and it can also weed out morons. People who find themselves above the rules, despite the fact that they're the ones who require them the most. Ooh, everybody but the upper left guy, huh? Okay. Roll out. Bum, 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 ba-dum, bum. Wow, wow, wow. Nice. We got him, boys. Bum 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 bum. All my friends have a low rider. I haven't seen that movie in forever. Gone in 60 Seconds. Nick Cage. Maybe it's time for a rewatch. Ah, you can lower my accuracy, but you can't make that specific shot miss. What a true July 4th spirit. You may take our lives, but you can never take our freedom. Ah, man. Hey, listen, we went to fight the British at the Battle of New Orleans. I don't know if you knew that. I'll tell you as well. It's a rough tabletop actual play, positivity, mental health atmosphere out here. You'll be watching Brennan or Matt Mercer, and you know they'll just be like, and here's a clip of an interview I did with Brennan Lee Mulligan where he dropped crucial advice that will change your life. And I'm like, this is the standard you're setting that someone like me has to live up to, is Brendan Lee Mulligan drops crucial advice that will change your life? Guys, you gotta bring that standard down, okay? You can't have an 8-minute conversation with Brendan Lee Mulligan and he drops crucial life-changing advice. I think one of the most interesting things about being a fan of Brendan nowadays is that I was a fan of him before I was a fan of him. I know that sounds crazy, but back in the day, he was the writer for a webcomic called Strong Female Protagonists, which was, the art was done by, I want to say their name is Molly Ostertag. It's very Nordic looking. And so, you know, Molly's name was kind of the bigger signature. They're the artist. It's kind of what I'm paying attention to. But now that I know that Brennan and the Brennan from Dimension 20 are the same person, I'm like, ah, yes, now I see all the parallels between, because so Strong Female Protagonist is about a like high school Superman who's a young woman who's just entering college. And so when she was like a middle and high schooler, she was one of the premier superheroes in the world. And they live in a world now where they've defeated all the villains. Like, there's no supervillains left, more or less. And so, like, heroism is on the dying down. And the kind of challenges she faces are ones that she just can't punch her way through anymore. Like, that was her thing, is that she could just punch somebody and they would be defeated, and then everyone would give her rewards. And you end up in situation, I'm about to spoil a lot of it. You absolutely should read Strong Female Protagonist, by the way. But like, one of the early challenges is that she's having beef with one of her college professors who's like, you can't just punch your way through every problem. And then we cut to a reminder of a time where she like threw a car at somebody, a villain, and they deflected it. And that car hit that guy's apartment and killed their loved ones. So like, she is actively involved in killing these guys' family members, and he is now forced to like be her professor. And when the school finds out, they're like, oh yes, this guy's been harassing you about this, we're gonna fire him and ruin his life. And things just keep spiraling out of control there. They end up in a situation where there's like a Wolverine type character, I think their name's Feral. They're like a southern bayou sort of like hyena sort of character who regenerates super quickly. And now that the age of heroism is over, they're like, I don't know how to be a hero. I don't look like a normal person. I look like a human hyena hybrid. And people don't really trust me as a result. And I just want to like still do my part and save the world. And they try to like find problems to solve and like people to fight. And that's one of their beefs with the main character, is that they've like given up their life of superheroism. Even though there are still problems in the world, it's just not problems you can punch your way through. And so Feral's solution is that they are going to spend the rest of their life being vivisected. So they regenerate organs fast enough that they can donate like both their kidneys and a liver and their lungs and their heart and stuff pretty much like all day long. And so they're just going to have a team of doctors permanently sawing this person open for the rest of their life, removing all of their internal organs. That's like the whole storyline is just that. There's a whole story arc that's literally just like, hey Feral, you shouldn't do that. And Feral's like, this is something I'm capable of doing, and if I don't do it, people will die. Don't I have a responsibility as a hero? And when I was younger reading this, I was like, damn, this is some really messed up but profound stuff, and what does it say about us? And now I'm like, I'm watching Dimension 20 and Brennan is still pulling this crap off. Brennan? Just remember, if it's Brennan Lee Mulligan, the bad guy is either religion or capitalism in a human form. Classic. Alright, hold on. My mom is messaging me. I hope it's not, please go take me to the hospital. No, it's, what are you thinking of making me for dinner? Well, listen, normally I'd be like, that's annoying, but, you know, I'd rather get that message than I have an infected wound. I don't know what to offer her. What do you guys think? You're not even going to get this episode out until like Wednesday or Thursday. You can't answer like 6 days backwards in time. What's the Asian food? Panda Express. I'm going to say, if you don't want something cooked from my freezer, how about some Panda Express? She loves Turbo Sal's chicken, but no one in the history of the world has ever made it with spice. You know, if you look at it on a menu, it typically has a little hot pepper thing next to it, and then there's never any spice to it. So I get the Panda Express stuff, and then I just add red peppers. She says she'll take Panda. Amazing. I knew that was coming. I knew it was going to be Panda Express. Was a result of me needing to go pick up Panda Express. We probably will not get the Elite Four in today. Well, maybe after Pendragon, I'll do the Elite Four run before going to sleep, and that way I can go to sleep either as a massive failure or as a Pokemon. So you're a Pokemon Master if you make it to the Elite Four or become a gym leader, and you're the Pokemon Champion if you beat the current champion. So I guess I'm a Pokemon Master now, and I'll become a Pokemon Champion. So it's really a question of, do I get my Masters or my Champions? Really. But a Master is a failure in this case. If I can't beat the Elite Four and my rival, bound by the rules that have been placed out, which I've followed, I think I've followed them all. If I've made any mistakes, there's video evidence. So I guess the time of roasting has come, but... Remember when my Diglett died to Tri-Elemental attack? Or when my Venusaur died to... What did my Venusaur die to? Oh, was it a Seal or a Dugong? And then it had like a one-hit kill move that I don't even remember what it was called, and maybe I've never even seen it before. Gengar died to... being outsped by the rival's Alakazam. Womankey died to somebody that was on the route next to Brock's area, just to like a strong hit. I don't even think it was a critical. It was just like a strong hit. And I wasn't taking the battle seriously. The first real grind session was right there. Meow, 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 meow. Wow, this XP is coming in slow. I'll tell you what. We started at 49 and now we're almost to 51. Yikes. But we can't afford to be taking on Machokes or Machops that could critical hit and destroy Snorlax in one. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. We gotta slow down. Oh, the ones that are facing the correct direction are ones that have been verse-seekered. I see, I see. It only took me like 10 to 15 hours of doing this to realize that. Imagine going out, working a full job, 40-plus hour weeks. This is Japan, so probably it's closer to like 70 to 80 hours a week. Going out on the weekend to hang out with your biker friends, and then a kid shows up every 15 minutes to beat you up and take your hard-earned cash. And that kid is like 100,000 there. And they really just farming you. Bro, are we NPCs, bro? Do you know what it's like to feel like an NPC in the world? Bro? I got that feeling. When I started my streams, I really likened game mastering to kabuki theater, my favorite form of theater. It's so interesting, the evolution of background set piece movers and actors being clad in all black, and so you're supposed to ignore them. And that is the origin of the all black ninja. Was, I mean, the historical reality of ninjas are, you know, farmers using farm tools as specialized assassination equipment, right? A kunai is literally a piece of farming gear that you can legitimately still use to farm. But the all-black ninja in fiction came out of their depiction through kabuki theater, were in order to surprise the audience in the way one would be surprised by an assassin. One of the black-clad set-piece mover background people would step out of the background holding a kunai and be like, oh, they're not background anymore, they're a ninja! Whoa, crazy ninja magic is happening. So our modern Naruto-ish idea of what a ninja is, the entire 70s and 80s, and I guess early 90s having like ninja mania, where every movie is about teenage surf kids who also are ninjas. You guys remember that? Three Ninjas? I feel like there were multiple Three Ninja movies, and they also never kept the same actors between it. It was supposed to be the same characters, but they never had the same actors. They have that Stranger Things problem where, or Harry Potter, where the kids grow up faster than your ability to record the movies. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, bum, bum. Ba-do, ba-do-do-do-do, boo, boo, boo. Could you do it? Could you become Surf Dracula? Did you make it happen, audience? First Seeker. Clicky, clicky. Here we go. It's a whole crew out here. Shadow Ball. Alright, my mom's got her order. You write down what you think my mom ordered, and I'm gonna tell you what my mom ordered. Pause the video if you're writing and you haven't finished yet. Here's my mom's Panda Express order. This is new, actually. She's never ordered this one before, so there's no way you could have predicted it based on things I've told you. Honey walnut chicken, although she says C-H-I-C, so honey walnut chick. It's two more letters to say chicken, right? But who knows? Did I just misspell chicken? There's a K in there, right? Three more letters. But who knows? Orange chicken. Now that is a very her dish. I mean, General Tso's chicken is basically just orange chicken with broccoli. And theoretically, you're supposed to add red pepper flakes to it. And maybe some heat. And noodles, which is very new for her. Normally she has me get white rice or fried rice. So I don't know why she's thinking noodles today. But I'll tell you what I'm thinking. I'm thinking Arby's. No, I'm never thinking Arby's. That's because our local Arby's closed down. And trying to get roast beef sandwiches from fast food places is a bad idea. Now, I'm never gonna knock the hustle of getting roast beef, sliced roast beef at your deli, then bringing it home, and then like broiler panning it into a sandwich yourself. But I know that Hardee's is offering right now like 2 roast beefs for $6, $2 each. And I was like, I haven't been to Hardee's in a super long time, but I'll give that a shot. Went there, massive disappointment. It's like the smallest amount of roast beef you've ever seen. Smaller than a pack of cards. Hidden away in a corner of a bun that's too large. That's so dry. There's no cheese, which is a travesty. There's no Arby's style cheese sauce, which is, what's the opposite of travesty? A paradise. Listen, I know the Midwest are going to be upset. Some of these cheese sauces I've seen out in the world, they're not at government cheese level, all right? They're disgusting. They're sub Velveeta. They're an attempt to turn a profit on nothing. It's like people adding I want to say sawwood fiber. That's not correct. What's it called when you saw into a piece of wood? And sawdust. It's like adding sawdust to dog food as a filler. I should have just said filler. That would have made way more sense than sawwood. Oh, and no horseradish. I mean, you're gonna have a roast beef sandwich with no horseradish? Or anything to kind of give it a sort of sauce or a flavor at all? These sandwiches, all these fast food places constantly trying to rip you off nowadays. I don't get it. I don't know how their business hasn't collapsed, although if you look at Wendy's stock price, I guess their business has collapsed. All the slavery tomatoes. Oh, it all began with the Chiquita Banana Company, United Fruit Company. Once you give a man a taste of the United States Army, he never stops wanting to control and conquer everything. Ooh, I could say something about my Sunday Worlds Without Number and how I'm gonna do some allegories to U.S. military recruitment. But it would be a huge spoiler, and there's a non-zero chance that we don't meet, and then there's a possibility that one of the cast members could watch the show and get spoiled on the thing that was gonna happen. And I wouldn't want that to happen. But rest assured, a huge portion of my Worlds Without Number well of ambition plans is allegories, metaphors, and other thematic topics to discuss life in the U.S. military industrial apparatus. We're coming up to the Stateless Army arc, which is where the players are introduced into an army that theoretically is supposed to answer to the public authority of a commander-in-chief, and in reality they're basically an independent arm of the government that is self-sufficient, consumes resources like food and population and slaves, and offers no public benefits beyond whatever they decide they will give back simply by dint of being a armed force. You know, like, yeah, sure, it's nice to have them policing the border, making sure nobody comes across, but they're doing that for their own benefit. They aren't doing it as a function of the state. What is a army if not a function of the state providing for public benefit? And there we go. That's the whole premise of the show. Just remember, this is a game for children, and this stream is theoretically supposed to be for children. Rise up, kids. Ask your local politicians why the local occupying army isn't an arm of the state and why it's acting as a function. Fortunately, as most of my audience is American, our military and our local occupying armies nominally are made up of and serve the local people and do not occupy them. Nominally. In a best case scenario, there are exceptions, as there are to many things. Yellow one, yellow one. Triple Baka starts playing. I come to every concert. They poison me? Nope. Leftovers kicked in. Good. Punch. Kick. It's all in the mind. There we go. Oh. What's your favorite EV? Let's get that on the I want it on the record. Roll call. Roll call. Represent yourself in the comment section and put your favorite EV in there. This is how I, an internet broadcaster, get you to like, comment, and subscribe. All right, my mom's saying that the reason her Apple Watch didn't activate fall detection is that you have to have not moved within 60 seconds of falling. And she moved immediately. Fair enough. Fair enough. So she could have called me. She could have used her Apple Watch connected to her cell phone to call me at any time. She could have called 911 at any time for help. She simply just chose not to do it. And instead to sit quietly against a wall in 100-degree heat. Bleeding. I'm displeased, but I understand the behavior because I probably would also do that. I just expect better of her because she has a doctorate in education. She's very smart. I expected better of you, mother. Oh, and also a lifelong nurse, like 40 years of Veterans Affairs nursing, public health nurse, epidemiology, with a specific study on bird flu, influenza, published white papers that are cited. She's always happy to let me know when her work has been cited again by another study. My works don't get cited, unfortunately. People don't cite C- tier tabletop actual play YouTube former electrical engineers. Maybe it's strange that I keep calling myself an electrical engineer. So I have an electrical engineer training license. I have a bachelor's of science in electrical engineering, but when I took the EIT and the FE exams, you had to pass every other category of engineering, and you also had to pass you had to achieve a minimum grade in every other category, and then you had to do very well in your category. So for me, I had to do the electrical engineering part well. And this is why the electrical engineering category, if you were an electrical engineer, they had the lowest pass rate because the electrical engineering section was considered the most difficult of all the sections historically. And what would happen is people with aeronautical or mechanical or civil engineering would take the exam, and they just need to achieve a minimum grade on the electrical part, but the electrical engineers had to do well in all the other categories that we don't study, right? Like civil, mechanical, aeronautical, they have a lot of overlap in stuff like statics and dynamics, right? Thermodynamics as well. That stuff is elective courses for a lot of electrical engineers. We kind of solely focus, with an exception on engineering statistics and engineering ethics, the WVU electrical engineering courses pretty much had almost no overlap with other engineers. Yeah, so electrical engineers had the lowest pass rate. That doesn't apply anymore. That doesn't fly. So now the difficulty of the test has been lowered drastically, and you just have to do well enough, I guess. I'm not sure on the new rules, but apparently the pass rate went up substantially for everybody and immensely for electrical engineers. So let me just say this. I don't think it's because the current crop of engineers and electrical engineers got better. Just to be very clear. I think they lowered the standards across the board. And that's not really what you want for the people that build your bridges and connect your power lines. Well, I guess technically electricians connect your power lines. Electrical engineers design the system that will allow those power lines to interconnect across a national framework. Although I guess in America we actually have 3 national frameworks. We have the East and West, and then Texas has its own grid, which is crazy. I'll always remember when the Texas grid nearly failed one year and the engineers were bragging about how they managed to keep themselves off of 59 hertz just barely, and I'm like, why are you bragging? You're describing a moment of immense catastrophe and collapse that would have taken weeks, if not months, to recover from. They were acting real arrogant about it. They kept it, though. They kept themselves out of desyncing their electrical waves. I guess. How would I describe this? There's an XKCD webcomic that's like experts in a field have no idea how little the general public knows about their field. I feel like you guys know that electricity travels in a sort of sine wave. Well, AC electricity travels in a sort of sine wave-ish matter, right? I feel like I'm not talking down to you on that regard. You know about that, right? Like, it goes to peaks and troughs. Rather than just like a high steady, like a DC current. So it's a wave. I forget what I was talking about the wave for now. Oh, right. The speed at which the wave rotates through, basically, right, is like the hertz. Yeah, it's like a frame per second for your monitor, right? You want it to be at 60 FPS or higher, right? Well, 60 hertz is where the United States wants its electrical grid to be operating and wants it to basically rotate through every 60 times a second, 60 hertz. And if you imagine it's like each generator generating power is like a man on a bicycle whose rotation of pedals matches everyone else's. When you have 100 people and they're all rotating at the same rate, adding a new generator to the power, it basically drags them forward, right? So like if you're at 60 hertz and a new power plant is coming back onto the grid, as long as they get kind of close to matching the speed and rotation, the grid itself will basically power pull them into line. They'll snap into place. This is why losing that is dangerous, because then you have to start doing stuff like 2 different power plants will then need to force one another onto the same rotation at the same time, and then they'll have to bring a 3rd online, and then a 4th, and then they'll have to keep building up until they have enough impetus that they can then bring more online at the same time much faster, because the pull will pull them forward. This is a simplistic way of describing this, but you basically like want the momentum of the pedals to be synced up. And that's why it's insane for them to be bragging about almost desyncing, because they were in danger of like a long period of no electricity anywhere in Texas. I suppose they could have shifted into a sort of confederation of electrical grids where it's just your local power station operating for you, and whenever it has problems, you have problems, and there's no ability to draw from other grids. Would have been a nightmare. Turns out a federalized national network where you can also draw upon foreign assets is the best way to deal with peaks and troughs, not in your rotation of electrical fields, but in your usage of electrical fields. You want, when there's an unexpected spike, you definitely want to be able to draw from your neighbors in an emergency. And when you have a lot of excess, you don't want to draw down your ability to make too much. You want to offload it onto somebody else to still get paid for it. Look, I'm just really describing kind of basic supply and demand. MBA's out here wondering why I'm even going over this. Somewhere out there, there's going to be a guy in the comment section who's going to talk about China and India working on lifting bodies of water or giant rocks or cliffside rocks in order to store power in a physical way, kinetic exchange, which is it's a solid way. I think the problem with water is that it's not as obedient to the whims of humanity as we might like. Water has a tendency to fill the entirety of its container through any means necessary, while also evaporating. It's also kind of solventy to work with. Water's a real pain in the butt. Kind of moldifies everything and slippery. Any sort of mineral or chemical mixture into it can begin wearing down whatever you put in the water. It can start rustifying things. Rustify not actually being a word. Chop, chop, chop. Got him. Ba, 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 ba. I think it's just this guy to the right is the only... No, nobody? I don't have it. Gotta go back. Wish I was on my way to Viridian City. Bum, 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 bum. Ba-da-da-da-dum, bum, bum. Nurse looking at you saying, I know what kind of man you are. Hashtag true terror. Yo. Didn't you have a race car bed and 2 birthdays a year? One every 6 months? Got that Wikander Halo bar sort of life. All 6, huh? We might run low on shadow balls here. Let's see how we do. How many comments are we getting from Jim and Dunamis this episode, by the way? Now, I'm going to say Jim and Dunamis seem like they're probably going to roll call for their favorite Eevee. I don't know that they have a favorite Eevee, but they'll probably chime in to say something. Dunamis and Jim will probably also have at least one other comment on something I've said so far. So I'm going to lock in and say Jim, by the time they get to this part, Jim has 2 comments on this episode and Dunamis has 3. I'm locking in. That's my prediction. All right? I'm throwing it out there. Dunamis at 1.8 speed on YouTube right now. You have to throw him off by starting to speak very quickly like this. I mean, can he even understand this at 1.8 speed? I don't know. I don't have that auctioneer in me. I just don't have it. I'm the auctioneer.
Maybe I should practice to get the auctioneer in me just to throw Dunamis off during a Soul Silver Soul Link Nuzlocke. Is that a bridge too far? To like go get Toastmaster / car auctioneer or cattle auctioneer? I've been to both of those, by the way. Art auctioneers tend to be normal in speed, but cars and cattle, those guys, seems like they gotta talk fast or die.
4 more levels, huh? I don't think we're gonna get it before I need to go leave to go pick up Panda Express for my mom, and then get back and then still have time to prep for Pendergun. It's unfortunate, audience, but you of the future are the lowest of 3 priorities. To you, 2,000 years in the future. So strange the number of people that watch Attack on Titan and are big fans of it and don't understand some of its most basic precepts. It's like anyone who's a Flock fan. Did you watch it and you learned nothing? What's going on there, bud? What's going on in your head? He does get an insanely badass moment, but also he's a villain. He's explicitly a bad guy. Some might even say he's like the bad guy. He's Billie Eilish, I'm the bad guy level bad guy.
I'll run out of that energy, audience. We're only 8 hours, 22 minutes in.
Just don't have that dog in me right now, brother. Been a day. It's hot. I don't know if you know it. You probably should, because I've been saying it's hot for like the last 2 days when it was hot. So that's probably like the last 6 episodes. But man, it's a hot one. Like 7 inches from the midday sun. And if you say, my life ain't something, something, then I would give it up, something, something else. Change my life to better suit your moods, 'cause you're so smooth. I guess maybe I should be listening to Santana on my way to go pick up the Panda Express so that I can remember that song.
Hey, we got that Grimer. You know, we got that Grimer set, right?
suppose the other way to do this would be to use my rare candies right now on Snorlax. Let him hit 55, then use 3 rare candies, and then just go do the Elite Four. That feels like an abrogation of my responsibilities, but here's another compromise. What if I hit 50, whatever, 55, use the rare candies, pick up Eevee, position myself to the Elite Four, then go do all my stuff, and if I finish my Pendragon prep with enough time, then at that moment, I launch my ambush attack on the Elite Four. It's so weird because in real life, right, you'd be like, hey, I have to schedule this in. And you have to call the Elite Four members in. Like, you would have just gotten done slaughtering your way through Victory Road, but for them, they'd have to be like, hey, I'm out at my real job. I'm also saving the world from a trans-dimensional god being, because that's just what happens in the Pokemon world. Maybe I can pen you in on like a Tuesday, and then you go to Lance, and Lance is like, no, Tuesday doesn't work for me. I have to fly in my dragon jet and beat some guy in a card game. Scheduling is a nightmare for the Elite Four. Agatha's always one step out of the grave. I've foreseen my own death with the psychic part of my Pokemon. That's how I know I'm going to defeat you, no issue. I actually saw someone using that offensively as a strategy. Hey Kara is a CK3 Crusader Kings 3 player who recently unveiled a 6 strat where you use there's a lifestyle perk under the learning tree that allows you to know when you're 1 year exactly away from your natural death. And you just play the game normally until that point, and then when that comes around, you start jailing all of your vassals who maybe aren't as loyal as you might want them to be, and like revoking all their lands, or like banishing them and taking all their money, just to like prop up your heir, and like also disinheriting all of your other heirs who might potentially challenge your future heir. So like just making the transition as smooth as possible during that 1 year where you can't die from other natural means. Now, you can be murdered or something, right? But you won't expire from like old age during that 1 year. You're immune. You actually, I believe what happens is when it triggers, you should have died, is how it works. Is you should have died, and then it gives you 1 year of extra life for free. But then you absolutely are forced to die at the end of it. There is an exception, I believe, though, if you are dying from being unhealthy, and then you recover your health back above a level where the health heart goes from red back to light green, you can reset the timer. Like, it'll withdraw that you have 1 year until you die thing. I believe that worked at one point. I don't know if that's still true. But anyway, that's such an interesting strategy. I never would have thought to exploit it in that way. But I tend to handle succession and, well, I prefer my vassals to also be members of my house and dynasty. So pretty much the first time succession happens, I don't let my vassals walk away. I pretty much remove all of them and banish them out of the realm and replace them with my own family members. How close are you to leveling? Oh, like 1 battle, huh? What if I just go down here on this road here and I just fight like 1 battle? Snorlax versus a Sad Rat. Ooh, we'll win. Oh no, he's a normal type. I'm not gonna do anything to him with Shadow Ball. That's fine. I'll hit him with a fighting move and it'll be fine. Be prepared for brick break. Pow. Alright, we're gonna fly to Cerulean. Pick up Eevee. No! What is happening? I'm hitting start, by the way. There we go. Fly. We will heal at the Cerulean. Well, we don't need to. We'll heal at the Indigo Plateau just to be fully on the up and up. So we gotta go pick up that EV, that E unit. Yes, before I forget about it. The reddest of candy. And I should have enough left over to raise Gyarados, aka Dragon, up enough to face down against Charizard. Thank you for Flex, the Eevee back. What a beautiful Eevee. Level 32, I see. And then we fly to the Road of Victory. Indigo Plateau. And so it was in the days of old. The final challenge is soon to become. For you, it was a mere Tuesday, but for me, it was the most important challenge of the rest of my playtime. Bum, ba-dum, bum, ba-dum. Okay. Here I am, having spent an entire week work full of time, almost 40 hours, having moved to this particular moment in space-time to beat a game that I already beat when I was a child multiple times. But now I did it somewhat harder, and I just made it harder on myself, for me and also maybe for you, audience.